Welcome to the We're Good podcast, where we are celebrating the everyday brilliance of people working toward a more positive world. If you're looking for the good that's taking place around you, you've come to the right place. On this episode of the We're Good podcast, we're back on location and out to the farm, but not just any farm. We're visiting a farm less ordinary, where adults with special needs are growing flowers, making delicious jams, and cultivating crops that yield something even more meaningful, purpose and community. Today, we'll take you along on our tour. You're going to want to see and hear all that's going on. Join us as we visit a farm less ordinary, where the crops and the good are in abundance. Welcome back to the We're Good podcast. I'm Lee Ann Necessary Brownlee, your host, and today we are back out on location. A beautiful day here in Loudoun County, Virginia, at a farm less ordinary. And as you can see behind me, things are really springing up. Spring has sprung here on the farm. And we're so excited to tell you about this amazing farm and what's taking place out here. And of course, the man who is behind it all, founder, is Greg Masucci. Thank you so much for being here with us, Greg.
Thank you for having me. I did want to say my wife and I are co-founders.
Exactly.
My wife's name is Maya Wexler.
That's right. So, and she's a big part of this as well.
She is still a big part of this.
She's a huge part of this. And we'll be talking a little bit more about her.
Yes.
And Will Thompson, who is one of the longtime volunteers and board member. Thank you for being out here. And you already gave us a little preview. So folks, go to our YouTube channel. You're going to get some behind the scenes looks when you go on our YouTube channel to see what's going on out here at the farm. Greg, let's start with you. You and your wife came up with this concept. Mm-hmm. Can you share your journey and what happens out here at a farm less ordinary?
So my wife and I had a baby boy. About 3 years in, he was diagnosed with autism. We had lived in the city in Capitol Hill in DC, and it was starting to become difficult to manage him in that environment. So we decided to move out west to Loudoun County or thereabouts. I'm a realtor, so I looked at 1,000 properties in 6 different states, and I settled on this kind of fixer-upper place that had 25 acres. And as city people, we were used to having like a postage stamp-sized yard. We were pretty involved in special education advocacy, and we still wanted to advocate for this population to help our son and others like him. So we thought, well, what are we going to do now? You know, we sort of pushed through some reforms in the school system in DC. And we wanted to do something that didn't involve litigation, something we controlled. So we drew the idea on the back of a napkin in a Thai restaurant for this farm. And we were very pleased with ourselves, patting ourselves on the back, except we realized that we didn't know nothing about farming and we didn't even have houseplants. But we're can-do people. So we decided we would try in 2015 to see if we can grow crops. And we did so successfully. So we launched our idea in January 2016. We hired our first 3 growers and we never looked back. And this year we'll employ probably at peak of season about 40. So it's been quite a journey. And
tell our audience who your growers are.
So our growers are people who are impacted by disability of generally it's developmental, intellectual or cognitive disabilities. The biggest version of that we have here is autism spectrum, but sometimes that comes with comorbidities like OCD or ADHD. A lot of times those diagnoses come together. So people who have had real challenges in their life and particularly with employment, because unfortunately the unemployment rate in this community is over 70%. And that's when the national average is like 4%, 4.5%. So, you know, we need to close that gap. But we feel that everybody should be given a chance in life. And we feel like a lot of times they may be developmentally delayed, but their skills might be coming late, but they're still there. And we also believe that if you invest in somebody, and particularly somebody whose confidence has been depleted by being told a lot of their life that they can't do this or they can't do that because of their disability, it will yield results, and it has. So,
and we also have had some people like traumatic brain injury that are new to having an intellectual disability. So they've been a great addition to our farm family here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Greg, you're talking about the journey with your son.
Yes.
And you talked about drawing everything out on a napkin.
Yes.
And you shared with me earlier, and if you can share with our audience, there were some times when when you were like, what are we going to do?
Well, when you become a special needs parent, you know, you fall into certain buckets because you're told that your child is this or that or this other thing. And our child is always described as, you know, profoundly impacted by his autism, right? And people with lots of initials after their name, of which I'm not, including people from NIH and Kennedy Krieger, told us our son had probably an IQ of somewhere between, one guy said like 35, one said, well, maybe up to 50. And it's pretty tough as a parent to hear, particularly school is really important to my wife and I. And it's not like we're going to love them any less, probably love them more, but we didn't really believe that. But you start to it shakes the faith in yourself. You start to wonder, am I just one of those parents who's looking through rose-colored glasses and doesn't want to see the writing on the wall? But we just didn't believe it. And so we kept at it. We tried all kinds of different therapies. And one of them was equine therapy. And through this equine journey, we ran into this horseman. So I went home all excited. I said, honey, we're going to Austin. So we piled in a minivan. We drove to Austin. And my son fell asleep on a horse. Like, it was incredible. There's a kid who takes all his medication to go to sleep. And he fell asleep on a horse. So I thought, but I noticed that he had this whole environment that he created for himself. Like, it was a farm. His was more of a ranch. He had animals and all this stuff. And I just liked it. It felt like Max felt at home there, like he belonged there. You know, when we were in the city, you know, my wife and I go to parties when we could, talk to people, and like, you'd have to hear like, oh, little Johnny got a B in algebra, wow, wow. And you're like, my kid's 8 and he's still in diapers, you know, like it was just such a disconnect with the average person. And you start to feel isolated and lonely. Like, even these people that are your friends, it's kind of terrible. And so we decided we wanted to create our own world, like our own environment. So we bought the farm sort of with this idea of just doing that. And then, you know, we're people who are, you know, serial do-gooders, I guess, right? So we decided very quickly that we felt like, well, we wanted to bring this to the community. You know, it's too great a thing to not share, you know? So, yeah. So that's when we wrote the idea on the back of a napkin. And then we kept at it with my son with various therapies. And it was always our belief that these folks can grow and learn like everybody else and get to the next rung on the ladder. And our validation came in the form of our son stopped talking when he was 3, and he didn't talk for 10 years, basically. You know, he's like a black box. We had no idea what was going on in there. And then in 2021, my wife started working with him with a communications protocol called rapid prompting method. We spelled things out one letter at a time on a letterboard. We became very proficient very quickly. And, you know, by like 3 months later, he was spelling these elaborate sentences. 6 months later, he was writing essays. And by October that year, we sent an essay he wrote to the New York Times Middle Schoolers Essay Contest. And out of 12,800 entries, he came in second place. He came in runner-up. Yeah, that's the kid with the 45 IQ. You know, like you don't know what people are capable of until you give them a chance. And that's what this farm is all about. We give people a chance, and we keep at them. We give them the attention they need. And we believe in them, and that yields results. That's at its core.
It's yielding amazing results. And it's doing so by, as you said, you and your wife had a dream and a goal. You've put it into practice out here. We're out on this farm, and then you've got amazing volunteers.
Yes.
And sitting beside you is one of the best.
My most amazing volunteer.
Will Thompson. Will, tell us about your journey. And just sitting beside Greg, I know you just feel so inspired. You can't help but feel inspired.
I'm so blessed to be sitting beside Greg. Right. So I found a Farm Less Ordinary, or otherwise known as AFLO, at the Community Foundation of Northern Virginia's gala in 2023. And at the time, I was a construction professional about to retire at the end of 2023 after a very rewarding career of 32 and a half years. And I needed something to do, because I can't sit still. I'm that person that has to go and do. And so, but I wanted to find a charity that needed immediate help. I didn't want to go, and my wife and I support a lot of big charities, but we wanted to find a small charity where we could really make a real difference right away. And so we won at the gala our CSA share through the raffle, through the auction. And I was so excited. We won a lot of things that night, but that was my most exciting thing, was that CSA share. And so as I started to coordinate late in 23, okay, I'm retiring. I'd like to start work in January. It took me a couple months to get there. It took me to like March, I guess. But as soon as I was able to really kind of explain my background and my ties with the construction industry, of people that really want to do good things for good causes, they kind of gave me a chance, and I've been doing it ever since. And I just absolutely love coming out here. It makes my day, just every single day I come, even if I'm having not the best of day, within 20 minutes of talking to our growers, I got a smile on my face and it stays there the rest of the day.
Tell me more about that, Will. Why is that?
I mean, as Greg mentioned a minute or so ago, I mean, all of our growers have some form of intellectual or developmental disability. So just for them to be here, oftentimes there's so many challenges that they have to work through or their family has to work through just for them to show up. I always told people in my professional world, effort takes zero energy, right? Just be there, just show up. But for our growers, it takes a lot. And what was just so impactful so quickly for me was this farm in Aflo provided such a forum for our growers, first of all, to prove to themselves that they can do great things. And then after that, the ability to do great things for this community. Maybe it be the IDD community or the overall Loudoun County community. It's just amazing. And watching how happy they are when they do the CSA boxes every single Wednesday, or when they're doing their calisthenics, or when they're weeding, and they take such pride in their work. And you can tell it is making a meaningful impact to our 40 or so growers every single day. In addition to that, you think about, like Greg and Maya had to deal with Max, the farm provides a respite for all of those families that are full-time care. And it's actually great for Loudoun County and great for the state of Virginia because they're able to come out here, they're actually able to earn a paycheck, gain confidence, gain self-esteem, and the social network you experience when you're here amongst the growers is just like nothing I've ever seen before. You look where, like Greg talked about, like bagging at a grocery store, and that is very important. But people that bag at a grocery store, they get treated differently than people that don't have IDDs. Here, when they show up at Aflo, they're all treated the same. They all recognize that each of them have their strengths and their weaknesses, but all of them have significant challenges. And they just form this bond like a family. And it's just so amazing to watch and experience.
Greg, you've got to feel so good hearing somebody describe the farm that way.
I absolutely do. And in fact, we asked my son after he just started working here a little bit last summer. He's pretty impacted by his disability, so we don't know how much he'll work, but long ago it stopped being about him and started being about the community, So even if he doesn't work for us, I'm still going to do what I do because I love it. And I get so much energy from the growers. And to Will's point, I think it's pretty incredible, the relationships that they warm my heart the most, I think, because when you're growing a bagger in a grocery store, chances are you're probably the only person with an IDD, CD in that environment, right? And like autism alone, one of the hallmarks of autism, literally one of the pillars that they talk about is a communication deficit. And most of them have a communication deficit. Some are nonverbal, some are non-communicative at all. Some of them have the delayed communication responses. Some of them have delayed proprioceptive. There's a lot of communication difficulties. And so, in an everyday world, unfortunately, a lot of people aren't going to take the time to communicate to somebody where that communication process might be slower. But here, you're thrust in an environment where you're working side by side with this person, so you're more invested. You're more willing to take the chance because you want to communicate with somebody, and they're going to put up with your communication deficits, and you'll put up with their communication deficits, and that's kind of a beautiful thing, and that's how relationships and bonding develops. And these folks, a lot of times after we say the bus stops coming, which is you can go to special ed until you're 22, and then you age out of the system. You're often drop off a cliff after that because 70% of the people on the spectrum alone can't drive, and for other IDDs, that statistic is even higher. And if you can't drive in Loudoun County, there's no public transport to speak of. You're stuck at home. If you're lucky, you have a parent not working, but in Loudoun County, it's so expensive to live here, it's mostly two-parent income households. So maybe you'll have a sibling at home. Otherwise, you're literally stuck at home by yourself. So we have a grower where she aged out of the Loudoun County high school system at 22. You age out. She went home, she sat on a couch, and she sat on the couch for 10 years, eating, watching TV, and playing video games. She gained a bunch of weight, and her parents you could not get her to do anything. She was depressed. She was super depressed, and their parents found our farm, and she started working for us, and the transformation has been like amazing. She lost weight. She's personable. She's like the belle of the ball. She is the bestie on the farm. I mean, everybody deserves that kind of life. Right? It's not that this person can have a nice life and everybody deserves to have a good life. If you can intervene in that sort of negative spiral, which I see that sort of transferring out of school and then sitting at home all day, employment's the real linchpin. And that's what my wife and I thought, that employment is the key, because you get somebody employed, that gets them out of the house, you have a built-in social network, it puts a paycheck in their pocket, it builds their confidence, it builds their skill sets, it makes them want to do more than sit around the house.
Yeah, and be a part of a community.
That's right. And
where
everybody should be able to contribute to whatever they can.
Right. And they're working side by side with volunteers,
Yes.
like Will, because Will, I loved what you said when you and I talked. You said, I really like the title of volunteer a lot better than board member.
I do.
That's at the heart of what you're doing. But I got to say that what you're doing right now is very visionary, and we don't want to miss that, because
Yes.
you all, Farm Less Ordinary has, you've had some amazing articles and things on you, but there's a lot going on the farm right now while We're Good is here. So
Yes.
Yep.
Will, can you share with us?
Yeah, it is amazing. Prior to last January, we had 2 farm locations, 2 wonderful families that let us use their farms for free. One was in Lovettsville,
Yes.
and one was here. But we really can never put permanent roots in and build things. And so from December of 24 through December of 25, we've tripled the amount of indoor growing space that we can have, like you're seeing behind us here.
This is amazing.
Which gives us a jump start on the growers for the spring. We've added cold rooms. We're getting ready to transform a portion of our barn into storage. We've fenced in an additional 2 acres for our berries. And that's the small stuff. The big stuff is we really are going to focus on, to meet Greg's vision, building a commercial kitchen. And a commercial kitchen is so important to AFLO, because about 80% of our funds come from grants or private donations. And we need to kind of take the Newman's Own model
Yes.
of jellies and jams, which we make phenomenal jellies and jams. But currently we can only sell them at a farmer's market because we don't have a commercial kitchen that the health department can inspect regularly.
Gotcha.
And so we're very fortunate to have 4 churches in Leesburg that let us use their kitchens, which is wonderful. And that allows us to sell our jams and jellies at farmers markets, that kind of thing. But our goal is to be able to get our jams and jellies into a Trader Joe's or a Wegmans. And that will allow AFLO to make all the money that it needs to support everything that we do just from our jam and jelly sales.
You were talking about the barn, and you took us on a tour of the barn. It's
Yes.
amazing what you all have done. So go to our YouTube channel, check it out. We're going to have the pictures on there. It's amazing what you've been able to do. And Greg, you were telling us that this is the future.
This is the future. I believe the products we produce are really excellent, and I think we have a great story to tell. And it's something I think people can get behind. In particular, your smaller, more boutique retailers could afford to pay the premium price that we will command in the marketplace, because it's a boutique, literally handcrafted, bespoke is the word people like to use now, product. And our jams are phenomenal. Anybody?
They are.
Yeah.
Last night, I'm going to have to take some home, because last night I'm talking about that I was coming out here, and a friend of mine, she's from Loudoun. She goes, oh, we always go and get the jams at the farmers
Yes.
market. So that's right now, that's where you are.
Yes.
It's farmers
Yes.
markets.
Yeah, we're under cottage rules, which only allow you to sell at farmers
Okay.
markets. I don't have the capacity to sell to a big retailer because they require things in big quantities, but that's what we're doing now. We're building capacity. So the idea is that by the time we built our berry capacity, the kitchen won't be far behind that, because this guy's amazing. And when he gets a hold of a plan, he can't wait to execute.
He's got it.
So and he has that kind of reputation that everybody wants to help Will, and which is a testament to what a wonderful human he is. I mean, I can't say enough about him, but
Yeah.
he brought this to an architect. I can't tell you how excited I was when I saw that first architectural drawing of a commercial kitchen, something that's been living up here for 7 years, or more than that, almost 8 years now. And to see it on paper, it was like, this could really happen,
Oh.
And to have somebody who I know is a partner in this and is interested, he's as interested in seeing this happen as me. And you can't buy that kind of, support.
And it turns out that our architect, Giuliani and Associates, his daughter is autistic. So it was just a natural fit when I approached him, can you help us? And he was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's just going to be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the impact of autism is just, if you look at it, it's like a hockey stick, So when our son was diagnosed, it was 1 in 144 kids, and now it's 1 in 28. Yeah. Now, some of that's better diagnostics, but some of it is not just better diagnostics. There's something wrong. I don't know what it is. So we need to do a better job of integrating other folks into our society, because there's going to probably be more of them. And I also believe firmly that our society is better off by integrating these folks into it. It's that diversity, it's just their different perspective. And Will can tell you that you can't spend a day around here without smiling, without laughing about something somebody said. Just the way they view the world is differently, or they find joy in things that you and I might not, and probably we should. And I think that we're in a more enriched society for that. It's not just, I don't look at this as alms for the poor. That's part of the reason I want to bring more revenue through the door. I want to be self-sustaining. I want the growers to feel like they're an employee-owned business, that they're, building something, that they built something. I have a magic number in my head of 375,000 jars of jam. If I could sell 375,000 jars of jam, I can pretty much finance my current operations. If I sell more than that, I can bring on more growers. But jam, the whole idea of jam, because everything we do, unlike, most businesses are profit focused. We are people focused, right? So to us, the people are the product, right?
Right.
Or the people are the end result we want. We knew that farming is seasonal. So my wife and I, right out of the box, we wanted to cure seasonality. So we put up our first high tunnel, and then we put up our first greenhouse. Now we have 3 high tunnels and 2 greenhouses, because that means I can extend my growing season longer and I can start it earlier.
Yeah.
Now with jams, we had 15 jam making days during our winter hours are between December 1 and March 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the 3-month period where, I don't want to lay anybody off. So what I do is I reduce our hours, and then we focus on farm cleanup, things like that. But jam, we had 15 jam making days during that time. If I get this up to the operation I want, there'll be a jam making day every day,
Oh,
right?
that's great.
So
That's
then
great.
I just focus on jam making all during the winter hours.
That's amazing.
And then I'll
And
be able to
it-
have full winter hours instead of limited winter hours.
Because it's all about the employment.
Exactly.
And the volunteers are working side by side with the growers. If you want to be a volunteer, if people are listening right
Yes.
now, there's a way to plug in here at the farm.
Absolutely. We always say there's you can give us your time and or your talent, or both, or your treasure. The 3 T's of,
The 3
of
Ts.
nonprofit, right?
That's
Time,
right.
talent, treasure.
That's right.
In rare instances, you get all 3.
That's right, and that's what you were telling me. Were that working alongside people. So
Yes.
so as we're about to close out, and we've talked a lot about, the vision that you have had that's still up in that head,
Yeah.
that I can't even imagine where this is all going to go. But if I had to ask both of you, we'd like to do this with our guests, to peel back the curtain, to
Mhm.
peel back the doors of the greenhouse or open the doors of the barn,
Yes.
and tell our audience, what is the one thing that you think they would never find on your website that makes A Farm Less Ordinary so special?
Probably community. I don't think they realize what it's like to feel outcast because of something that had nothing to do with you. You were just born that way. And for people to feel welcome, for people to feel understood, that means a lot, I know that you can just see by the way people interact on the farm that they feel like they're at home here. And I couldn't think of a better reason to get up in the morning than to give people that feeling, And Will, when he first approached me, he said, I want to work with my hands. And I said, gosh, I sure hope he likes this, because I feel like he's somebody I could bounce these ideas off that I have banging around in my head, And so even the sense of community, like, to me, I consider Will my friend, not just the things he's done. His wife, Suzanne, is amazing. She's an executive coach. She's executive coaches Amanda and I for free. I've learned so much from her, and that's kind of what it's all about, like the sense of community. Like, if you have something to offer, this is the place to offer it. If you have some time and you like outdoors, come spend some time with the growers. They're amazing. They will make you rethink your life in many ways, because they remind you what's important. If the average person had to have the courage and conviction that our growers have just to get up every morning, they'd value what they have a little more. I can tell you that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Well said.
Yes, you have. Yes,
Well said.
you have an amazing passion and compassion, and you're doing amazing things here.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for being interested in our story.
Absolutely. And Will, what would be your one thing?
I would think
I know he's a hard act. to
Yeah, I can't follow that.
I know.
But
I'm
He can.
I'm taking a
He's
minute
being-
here
he's being
myself.
honest. He can-
I think in my mind, the transformational nature of AFLO. There are a lot of wonderful nonprofits and charities out there that do great things for our communities. there are very few that actually provide the transformational ability for our growers to earn a living, to gain, just happiness and trust in themselves and the community that they bring. It's just, I think it's easy to underestimate that in lieu of being a transactional relationship. It's just so transformational here. And when you look at growers, and some of our growers may be here for their entire adult life working with us, and that's awesome.
Right.
And some of them may be here 2 or 3 years as a stepping stone to a different career.
Right.
We have an air traffic controller that works at Dulles
Orange
that
flashlights.
started at AFLO.
Great.
We have recently had one of our farm leads is now in a leadership position at Simply Be, which is a coffee chain that's also run by intellectually disabled people. And so we just have so many great opportunities. And so working here is not just a job for them. It transforms everything about their life. And for those of us that volunteer, I am so passionate about volunteering. We're very fortunate to have 3 other people that are out here like every week with me, Carlo, Madonna, and Tom and John. There's really 4 of us that are here all the time. But last year we had more volunteer groups outside of people that are regulars at AFLO than we've ever had, by like a factor of 5.
Yeah.
And people, when they come to the farm and they understand what we're really about, it just changes the way you look at things. And I'm just so thankful. I'm blessed that I found AFLO. I tell you. They give me way more than I could ever give them back.
Well, I can't think of a better way to close this out than with that testimony. And with you sharing what you shared. And we do want to say that while we said one thing that's not on the website, but what is on the website are some amazing, beautiful photos that your wife has taken. She's a professional. She's amazing.
Yes.
So go to the website. It's going to be linked to our website, we'regood.net. We do want you to look on YouTube, you guys. You've got to go to our YouTube channel to see everything that's out here on the farm because it's beautiful out here.
They're masterpieces that have been recreated.
They really are. They're absolutely gorgeous. So go to the website, go to ours, we'regood.net. Be sure to like us, follow us, share this episode with someone today. You just need to share the good that goes on around you.
Well, Leanne, we can't thank you enough for just giving us the opportunity for you to highlight our small piece of the world.
Yeah, absolutely, Leanne. I'm actually really like what you do. And when you told me you were involved with Jill's House, my son went there for all those years. And I just, that's another place that I'd say is built on good vibrations, for lack of a better expression. And I'm honored that you chose us. So thank you.
Honored to be out here today. Thank you. And for bringing the great weather. My goodness,
absolutely.
It feels like summer here.
It does.
We're ready. And Jill's House has also been a guest of ours, so people can listen to that on the podcast. Well, thank you for mentioning them. And thank you all for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And we want to thank you for listening because as we like to say, and it's a perfect day to say it out here, we're good and you're good. And we can all make a difference.